Yo, it feels so good to be back in the studio for Thursday's show. I mean, we love travel. We're back. We have a big announcement talking about used cars and Tesla and sneakers and this announcement.
I go,
yeah, I can't say it right away.
Yeah, you just got to go straight in. Just like, well, first of all, I'm so glad we're not by a pool or on a lawn. I'm like in my office, we got the thing, and
most people
it's
would
all
disagree with that statement you just made.
I know, they're like, bring it back to the pool. That was crazy. My wife texted me that morning. She goes, I think that was my favorite show ever.
Really? Really? The pool episode.
If you listen back and watch back to it, you're like, wow, they were definitely at a pool.
Isaac was like, I was so waiting for you to just like wrap the show and just put the mic down and go jump in. If we didn't have to like get on a plane the next morning, we might
cannonball that thing.
Yeah, that would have been a good way to go. Good way to go. Yeah. Well, it is Thursday. Great Thursday to be in retail automotive. We have a really big announcement to make. And it's big for the ASOTU team. And we think it's going to be really big for the future of the ASOTU verse. As any startup, right? Think startup life for a second. We are about a year in to being an official like corporation company, about a year in, not even actually. And, the fast growing life, the team has grown from like 0 or like 1 or 2 to what do we have? Like 12 now, somewhere in that. 12 and growing quickly. We have 14 at NADA. There was a great post that just went out about that. And the challenge of a startup is the fact that you're growing fast. Communication is always tough because you're running flat out, right? Try talking while you're running flat out in 6 different directions. And, as that goes, everyone's trying to do what they're doing. There's, some communication breakdowns. There's, people that need to be cared for. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that really are passionate about what they're doing. So it's like this whole ball of inertia and emotions. And we got to a point where like, all right, like, how are we going to care for this team best? I'm going to let you talk for a second.
Yeah. And so a lot of people know that we like integrate others into this ecosystem, that you've seen different personalities and people. And this person alone is already started to care for our team and come alongside and been a part of vision casting and creating shows and things like that. So let's bring Michael Cirillo to the stage. Come on, bring him up in here, Isaac. Yeah, we actually have trigger pads.
Bill Cosby.
That's so. So Michael Cirillo is joining us as our chief of staff, and he's going to join the executive team with Paul and I and team ASOTU, and he's already started to integrate into that team, and we're really excited to have him like help us cast vision and build things and dream about how we can serve the industry more, be a part of content, be a part of serving our team. And Michael, we're like pumped to have you. You're on the show. You've been on the show before, but say hey to the people.
Man. I'm excited to be here. And I love just working with people, and, that's been one of the highlights, working with my team at Flex Dealer, just growing and working together with people and seeing the achievements and the potential just unlock. So I'm excited to do that here with you guys at Team ASOTU, but also getting to examine the industry from a different angle, right? It's one thing to do it as a tech, marketing entrepreneur. It's another thing to approach it from the angle that ASOTU approaches it from. So I'm super excited to do that. And actually, we've proven that the three of us can get stuff done together, that it's not all fart jokes.
It's not all fart jokes. That's fair. We're going to put that on a shirt. It's not all fart jokes. We do cars too.
It's so, you look at I want to talk about 2 things and clear up some potential misconceptions and try to stave off as many texts and phone calls as you're going to get today, Michael. Michael's joining us as the chief of staff. This is a position that is growing in popularity amongst companies. Usually it's kind of reserved for like the political landscape. But, so we did a little bit of work to like define what we meant by chief of staff. And, this is really a people oriented, getting people in place and making sure they're all facing the same direction. So there's like a people and a processes kind of mentality to the position. And I'm going to ask your perspective on that in a second, Michael, and how you've been approaching it, because you've been in the role for a couple of weeks now. But I also want to clarify a really big thing. The things that Michael is doing with Flex Dealer and his Dealer Playbook podcast, which you have to check it out, are not changing. Right. Michael has taken this on as an additional role, not to replace anything else. So Michael, why don't you just like color in the lines there a little bit, and then like let people know how you're approaching the chief of staff position.
Well, despite popular belief, I think that gets adopted in our industry, it is possible to do some really cool stuff and serve dealers in a way where your company grows, where your people are cared for, where you can be cared for as an entrepreneur without all of the massive fanfare and lights and all of those sorts of things. And so, we've been really, really blessed at Flex Dealer, and I'm at a position where I have some availability, where my team is growing the business and we are doing incredible work for our clients. And so, over the last year, I mean, people have probably wondered, like, what's Cirillo doing with the ASOTU gang all the time? He's there.
We were too. We were wondering that too.
Right. And that was like, that was kind of for everybody a little behind the scenes. That was us exploring each other. That was the three of us here getting to know one another in a deeper way, seeing, how much we really had in common, how our mindsets are aligned, not just in business and the industry, but how we approach our families and our views on fatherhood and all those sorts of things. And so, pulling back the curtain even further, a few months ago, Paul was kind of like, so yeah, like all these things you and I have been talking about, your company, you've achieved, and you've got some availability. And I'm like, I've got some availability. And, you asked me point blank, you're like, so would you have any interest in looking at ASOTU with more purpose, with more intention? And I'm like, let's talk. So, there's this old cartoon called Captain Planet. I don't know if you guys heard of it.
I know where we're going with this.
You got to get rings, right? When our powers combine.
You have a ring.
We got there, and it was like, with all of these mindsets and weird fart jokes combined, we are ASOTU. It was like, so it just made sense. So yes, you're right. Flex continues. I continue to pursue my stewardship for my team and my client partners there. That does not change. We have some amazing things that we're doing there, and goals that we've set for our company this year. But with that availability, I see the opportunity to like I said, just examine the industry from a different angle, to work with the two of you in a more purposeful way and with the team, and to have a boatload of fun, and
there you go.
The older I get,
there
the
we
more
go.
fun I want to have.
You're absolutely the oldest man in the company now. I don't know. Actually, I have no idea. I don't even know how old you are, but you're definitely Am I the oldest man?
Yeah,
it's okay.
In spirit, I'm the oldest man.
Paul.
Ripe old 43. Listen, I have zero problems with getting older. I'm looking forward to being a grandparent. I'm happy that I'm the age I'm at.
I'm still hey, y'all might be older, but I got the most gray in my beard, so
that's true.
Do you really? do you do the box kit? Do you do the box kit to keep them dark?
I'm looking forward to going gray. I actually wish my beard was grayer. I'm looking
let me look wiser than I am. Please.
I'm looking. That's exactly my point. That's exactly my point.
Old, he's got toenail clippers on his keychain.
That's never coming. That's when you know.
Cirillo's so old he wears white Skechers.
Oh, white New Balance. White big fatties. Velcro. All right. So one more quick. Just want to get your perspective on the chief of staff position, and then we'll get into some news here. So what is your? Because I think this is a role that that frankly, like we've been in some dealerships with some leadership teams, and Kyle and I have actually suggested this position as a solution to some problems in some dealer groups, because you get in the mindset of like, well, I need a general manager and a sales manager and a service manager. Meanwhile, like the synergy between departments usually falls on the lap of the GM, and the GM is often ill-equipped to do that and still keep up with the progressive nature of the moving industry. So chief of staff is actually something we think could potentially be an important role, an important position in some of these growing dealer groups. And so, which is one of the reasons we adopted it here. And so what is your mindset approaching chief of staff position, Michael, and even like framing it up within automotive?
Right. I think no matter what you do as a leader, if you're a CEO, COO, dealer principal, GM, sales manager, department manager, your focus can only go so far, and that's not a bad thing. So the way I see it is a delegation of focus. I know our industry wants to say words like authority or power or whatever. I see my favorite word in leadership is stewardship, because it reframes the internal narrative about, well, what does that mean? Well, stewardship, like a hen gathering her chickens under the wing, is really the way I see it. It's how do we lift and empower, embolden people so that they can do more with less and really truly realize their full potential and nature, and how powerful they actually inherently are, and how we tend to discredit ourselves. So I see this as a delegation of focus. Dealer principals have things they must focus on, things that they can only do, and it's not a replacement of that responsibility. The responsibility still rests on dealer principal's shoulder for their people. But when you delegate the focus, now it allows that leadership team to really expand and conquer their mission. And so for me, this is a delegation of focus to make sure that day to day the team is empowered. It's that's where my focus is. I'm focused on them. And so you will, in my estimation, and based on the experience I've had up to this point, you will never lose when you pay more attention to your people.
Love that. There you go. Put that on a t-shirt. Put that on a t-shirt and ship it.
Making t-shirts all morning.
Yeah, we are. We are. All right, let's get into some news. Speaking of shipping things.
Stop. Segue.
Time. Oh, scratch too. Double time. All right, in automotive. Oh, that's going on. Used car prices have seen their second straight month of increases as the Manheim Used Car Index bumped up another 2.5% from December to January, indicating a higher than expected demand. The number is still down 11% year over year, right? But, the analysts are saying this is very atypical that prices would change this much between December and January. Typically, that's a really flat transition month. They're even saying they're seeing some indicators that hint that spring is here, meaning maybe the groundhog was wrong.
Well, here's what I see happening, and I was reading some indicators on this yesterday from some other news sources. Like the reality is that as used car prices began to dip, or still are dipped compared to the trajectory that they were on over the last year and a half, we see demand be able to pick up in different market segments. So lower price points, potentially credit challenge, or people that didn't have the access to the affordability in the higher price points. And so where similar in like the new car market early on, you saw this like hold of pent up demand and then availability of demand when inventory started to come back. Now you've got that same thing happening in the used car pricing market, where people just were sidelined from the market altogether, even though the demand was still there. And now they're coming just back to the market. That demand was still there for lower price points, lower affordability points. And so that's really what we're seeing happening really quickly here. And I think we are going to see spring come early, and we're not going to be so dependent on like a tax time return, because the market demand is already just sitting there sidelined.
Michael, feel free to jump in. You know how this goes. Just interrupt.
I just like talk over.
Move more metal. No, I'm interested. This is where I get my daily dose, guys. So I'm listening.
Oh, you're like he's like, okay. So now that I'm on the show, I'm gonna listen now.
Now I'm part of the news too. We don't make the news. We just report it. The element, like the big conversation around used cars, are like, has it bottomed out? This is 2 months in a row of an increase, which was kind of unexpected, because everyone was saying, the market actually had a big correction. But the fact that there's still heavy used car demand, and the market day supply is relatively low. I think it's like 40 days on the retail side. It's just another, just trailing result of new car inventory, and just showing like affordability is a major issue still. Used cars took definitely a decent dive in the last quarter, the last 3 months. And so I think it just still shows that people are looking for the value more than not.
I mean, where else in our recent history, being the last, I don't know, even 20 years, have we all been left scratching our heads, right? Like our famed anonymous car dealer CEO on Twitter was reporting this just the other day. He's like, I don't understand. I'm scratching my head, but used car prices at auction are at an all-time high. They've gone up from January even. And it's like
how is that even
comments
possible?
and it's like, how is this even possible? I can't think of a time that would, you know, taking into consideration everything that's happening in the global economy, that this is also one of those weird anomalies. So
I think how is this even possible is kind of been like a mantra of the car business for the last 2 years as people are looking at how is this even possible? What do you mean we're out of inventory? What do you mean the profit? How is this even possible? So probably more than speaking of things that we didn't really see as possible.
Stop. Segue.
Time. Oh yeah. So Tesla's Model 3 and Model Y vehicles are named the best selling vehicles in California, unseating Toyota's RAV4 and Camry for the first time ever. So get this, one in five vehicles in California are electric, and the state accounts for 40% of every EV sold in California.
I don't even understand how that works. Like, I know that they have a massive population, but the fact that they've gone ahead and acquired 40% of like the electric vehicle market share is out of California is wild. And Tesla accounts for what, 11.2% of that electric vehicle market share, as opposed to 3.5% in the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Now that's a wild number, and I think that it's interesting because a lot of people are looking at California as like, let's head that way. We see a lot of states kind of starting to make rules that way, but the majority of like even manufacturers go into California as the testing ground for their EVs a lot, right? I know Mazda very well. They put EVs there first and then see if it's going to work in the rest of the country. And so because there's such early adoption on that, we see like an even higher intent focus on getting the full state adoption over there. But man, to dethrone the RAV4 and the Camry that's a big lift right there.
That's a lot of people that can't get out in an earthquake.
Ooh, see now he's coming for it this morning.
I'll see.
Hey, but it's
been fun.
But I mean, to keep things in line with the news, at least we know we're gonna need gasoline for at least another decade, according to the State of the Union address the other night. So
yeah,
there we go. That's true.
I mean, we would just make all our decisions based on the State of the Union address. We all know it's the most accurate information, no matter who's in the White House.
No matter.
Oh man, one day we'll get back to consumers actually driving the decisions and demand. One day we'll get back there. But I mean, EVs are coming. They're here in California. It's still, I mean, they obviously have the best charging infrastructure too. But I don't know. I don't even know what to do with that except for just say like, how could this happen? How could this be true?
I mean, statistically speaking, it's like the marketer in me says, well, there's 115 million people in that state. There's a big enough data set to prove out whether or not something will work.
Right. That's the other piece. Yep. Yeah, but also you don't have much rural, and so it's like you get the ability to go. The majority of these people are based in a market center, right? Close to city, close to electric grids. Like they aren't North Dakota, Yeah.
So, I mean, when we got the ice here in Dallas, the first thing I did was bring in the electric scooter. I brought it inside. I'm like, I don't want to wreck the battery. So I think about Winnipeg, Canada, driving.
Wow. But on the flip side of that argument, a lot of people in like very condensed population centers, there are also a lot of questions and concerns are how are people going to charge their vehicles up if they live in apartments or they have to park on street and it's not right in front of their house and all that. So obviously they're figuring something out in order to solve that problem. So little this, a little that. Either way, we're going to figure out what's going to go. But California and Tesla and Toyota, it's a little battle going on. It's good for everybody. I think it's good for everybody. I don't have a segue for this. I mean, just go for it. I know.
Stop.
Speaking of things that are good for everybody.
Stop. Segue.
This is actually a story about sneakers, which is why
this is actually a story about Paul's life. No.
Not just sneakers, Air Force Ones, which by the way, social media records indicate that I was on Air Force Ones way before they were that popular. But either way, major footwear brands are showing signs of reversing course and turning back to wholesaling. That's like selling through stores like Foot Locker and stuff, as opposed to the major move they've made going direct to consumer in the last years. Namely, Nike is loosening its allocation to wholesale channels such as Foot Locker after several years of limiting volume, like only sending them so much because they wanted to sell the majority of their shoes through their direct channel, like their website. And they also recently invited wholesalers back to their campus for the first time to court them, things like that. I'm also seeing design partnerships spring up to sell through wholesale channels, like in exclusive versions of the shoes through new designers. And one of the reasons, like since that shift began, this is what happens. New brands have started to do really, really well through wholesale chains. Brands such as the Swiss brand On and Allbirds, which is probably a little more well-known. They've been selling through wholesale channels. And I mean, that's just an indicator that people are still buying shoes through the wholesale channels.
I mean,
actually,
I'm a runner.
This applies to auto. Go ahead.
Yeah, this actually applies to auto. I'm a runner, and so I've paid attention to the On story and them going into stores over the last 5 years, right? Because they were traditionally like you had to go to their website to go grab, especially like fresh shoes. I think like you get that like secondary shoe pushed down to the wholesaler, and Nike does that a lot, where like they kind of have their second tier shoe, but they reserve their top tier shoe for their website. And so this is like opening that up to get into the retailers. And this is we're seeing this present, the push back to wholesale. We are actually talking about mattress. Some of these like direct to consumer mattress companies have started to wholesale into your legacy mattress companies that are brick and mortar, because turns out people want to try it on before they buy it, and people are going into these retailers again. The return to brick and mortar is constantly facing the product model. And so it's like, I'm interested to see what OEMs do looking at some of these major brands. Do they pay attention to that, or they're like, no, we're better than that, we can make this happen, we can do direct to consumer, and we're going to figure it out? Or do they go, okay, so these major brands, the Nike, the Allbirds, the Purple mattresses, all that, have learned a thing and gone, okay, we have to do both. Actually, I heard Audi talking about their digital ecosystem and recognizing like, hey, we are going to provide access to direct to consumer sales, but we recognize that tier 2 and tier 3 are really, really viable places and probably a larger percentage of all of our sales. And so we're going to make sure and map to all of those and drive down, and they're going to say like, hey, we're still going to have a central customer record, but we recognize that all of those spaces are places where customers want to do business, and we're not just going to go run at one thing. So
here's my wacky interpretation of all of this. They realized that our human nature, when pent up and cooped up in a house for long enough, is that we naturally want to emerge out into our habitat. And they're like, where do people wear shoes? Oh, outside. We need to get these people out. So why don't we bring them out to where they're going to wear their shoes? And it's the same thing. You made me think of that, Kyle, as you were talking about the automakers. Hey, automakers, where are people going to drive their car? In their living room? No, they are going to go out into the world. And so why don't we let them get this vehicle out into the place they naturally want to emerge to when they've been inside for too long?
You and Ben Hadley thinking along the same thread. As you're saying that, there's a little bit of a delay. So you all are thinking the same way. He says this is also a reversion to mean as a response to how digital we went over the last few years because of COVID. People want to get out, ! And hey, that's why I put the story in here. Maybe automotive can learn a little something from retail, because automotive is retail. Thanks for staying with us today. We have a lot of amazing things coming out. We're going to have more announcements coming soon. Mr. Cirillo, welcome to the team. You've been on the team anyway, but go get some on this Thursday. Let's go.